Hello, I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York. Welcome to One to One. Each week, we address issues of timely and timeless concern with newsmakers and the journalists who report on them, with artists, writers, scientists, educators, social scientists, activists, government leaders. We speak with each one to one. Irene Gandy is a force of nature. You may not be familiar with her name, but it has appeared in countless playbills. Her caricature is on the wall at Sardi's restaurant, and once you've met her, you won't forget her. She is a theater press agent, a producer, and a confidant. For more than 40 years, she has put out fires and stirred them up. And while the theater offers much more racial diversity on stage nowadays than it did when she started out, she is still one of the few African Americans who work behind the scenes and one of even fewer Black women press agents. Welcome.
I love that.
Anyone who goes to the theater regularly these days sees a fair number of African American actors on stage. But your bio suggests that there are still very few Blacks working behind the scenes in the theater.
I think that there are very few people working behind the scenes because most people that come into the world of entertainment, they really don't want to be behind the scenes. They really want to be in front of the theater. But to answer your question, yes. We're in a union, so that takes 3 years. You have to apprentice. What shows works on Broadway 3 years. I was very fortunate because I started with the Negro Ensemble Company in
Back in
1968.
Okay.
I didn't even know what a press agent was. I had gone to school. I'm originally from Westbury, Long Island. So I'd gone to school with a friend of mine, Fred Garrett, who is now deceased, but he was part of that group of Douglas Turner Ward that wanted to train actors and writers and press agents, kind of like the school like the Actors Studio, but nobody wanted to be a press agent. So I ran into him at the Electric Circus, which used to do children's performances, because I had one stint as an actress where I played an owl. And so he said—
An auspicious beginning.
Yeah, an auspicious. Well, that's a whole nother story. Well, that's a whole nother show. But to keep this quick. And so he said to me, Irene, we're looking for press agents to train to be an ATPAM, but we can't find any African Americans. I understand you've done theater. Would you go up for the, just for the interview? Now, meanwhile, sure, I didn't even know what a press agent was. All I knew that Mae West said my press agent kidnapped me. I just mold movies. So I went up for the interview, and I got it because I didn't know what it was. My daughter was 2.5 years old at the time, so I took some time out and just interviewed the guy because I had no idea what that was.
What was it like working for the NEC in the 60s?
Oh
and
my
70s?
God, it was just, well, first of all, when you don't know anything, then you're clueless, which makes it great, so you have nothing to fear. But people like Douglas Turner Ward, Robert Hooks, there was a commitment there. And that's why they called it the Negro Ensemble Company. Douglas Turner, my hat's off to him, really was very clear about what he wanted this company to be called. You had actors like, oh my God, Robert Hooks, you had Denise Nicholas, you had Rosalind Cash, you had Clarice Taylor, you had directors like Michael Schultz, and so many great playwrights, like, the list goes on and on. So it was really wonderful, and it was a family.
It was very exciting, and I remember going to St. Mark's Playhouse.
And then you had designers like Bernard, I can't remember his name, but Bernard. There's some great designers, Edward Burbridge, that people may not have been able to get into the union unless they had that credit, and which is that time.
And the NEC
provided that because it was a repertory company, yeah.
Black actors and directors fought bitterly for cross-racial casting for years. And now you see that has become a reality.
Do you think so? Do you think that black
Well,
actors,
I went to see As You Like It in Shakespeare in the Park last night, and there was quite a bit of diversity in the cast.
But in all honesty, Joe Papp, that ran the Public Theater, he was an advocate of actors. I think, not to say that black actors wouldn't have wanted to fight for equality and racial, but it's always the person that got the greenback. Make no mistake about that. If you're living with somebody, you call the shots if you got the money. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And I applaud people like Robert Macbeth and those guys. But the thing is, everybody wants their work validated. So, yes, everybody does fight for it, but again, you have to have money. It's all about really money to make things really happen the way you want them to happen.
Right. But has the fact that you have more cross-racial cast, I mean, at one time, when I talk to people like Ruby Dee, or talk to people like Bonnie Burrows, who've been doing it for a long time, you know, at one time you were very limited in terms of the vehicles that were available to you.
Yeah.
A lot of, all black plays, or you could put together something and take it to black colleges. Now you have more of an opportunity to be in a diverse number of
people like Stephen Bird
productions.
Stephen Bird, who produced Cat in the Hot Tin Roof, which is African American man, and who's also doing Streetcar Named Desire. People like August Wilson, as a playwright and director, who linked with what's his name up at the Harvard, where was that? Harvard.
Lloyd Richards.
Lloyd Richards and the white guy that produced all of his shows. So that's where they've been really helpful with, and I know that because we were all there together. So that's good. And of course, let's not forget Woody King.
Oh, definitely not.
Let's not forget Woody King.
My vision of a theatrical press agent is based on the Tony Curtis character in Sweet Smell of Success, where his name is Sidney Falco. He's totally unscrupulous and ruthless. He's willing to do anything that he has to do in order to get a mention, even a small mention, of one of his clients into the newspaper. Is that an accurate portrayal of what press agents do?
Here's what I think. It's like the 3 Ps: prostitution, politics. There's one more P, I forgot. But yeah, I mean, you're just a dressed up flunky. It's like running a house, a governess. You might enjoy all the things, but you don't own the house. But in terms of that, relationships. I have great relationships with everybody, my stagehands, especially my press people, because they know how to keep secrets. And I think that's it. But those.
When you say your press people, you mean people.
Yeah,
working in the press.
People in the press.
Okay.
I know how to be honest with them. Like if I have a show and it's not really good, that I think it's good, or I don't think it's and I know that it's limited, I'll say, this really isn't good, but you got to come anyway, because something else is going to be good. And I try to be honest as I can be, as honest as lying can be, as a politician can be.
Right.
A press agent is honest as a politician can be. So that's how I live my life. And
so prostitution, politician.
What was my other 3 things?
Sure, but it'll come to you.
It'll come to me. Prostitution. and press agentry. Politicians. Oh yes, press agentry, politician, and prostitution.
Okay.
They're all of those 3 Ps. They all coordinate.
What's the prostitution part?
You're selling. You're selling yourself. You're selling your client. And you in political, you say what you got to say to get things done when you want them.
Your credits have included Pearly Victorious, I'm Not Rappaport, Spring Awakening, August Osage County, Eubie, Race, Bloody Bloody Andrew Jackson, A Life in the Theater, right now, and currently the Gershwins, Porgy and Bess. Anything else you want to?
Yes, we're doing The Best Man with James Earl Jones.
Right.
We'll be doing that, and we just announced my season will include a revival of Glengarry Glen Ross with Al Pacino, and also we're doing the Steppenwolf production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and I'm very excited. And my favorite man in the whole world is David Mamet. So we're doing 2 Mammoth plays this year: The Anarchist with Deborah Winger and Patti LuPone. So these are going to be my swan songs. Mm-hmm. I'm done. I'm 69. I'm going to start a web series that I don't know how to use a computer, but I'm going to learn.
Really?
No, I don't. But my daughter's going to. I'll learn it. I'll always learn because I'm a Scorpio. I'll do what I need to do.
So, at what point do you get involved in working with a play or musical? I mean, how early do you get involved?
Oh my God, anywhere from 2 to 3 years, and yeah.
But I mean, do you start when it's just in the idea stage?
Yeah, you start with the idea. You start with, first of all, you have to get the rights. So you start with the rights, and you start with the director, because contrary to popular belief, the director and the creatives are, aside from the people that actually produce it, the director and the creatives are the most important part, because and the playwright, because most actors that you see on Broadway now, everyone says, oh, they're just doing this because they want to be on Broadway, but they love working with great playwrights like a Gore Vidal, Arthur Miller play, like a David Mamet play. So that's where it starts. If you want to do legit plays, I worked in all Bob Fosse shows as well. So it really depends on the lead producer. I'm very lucky to be associated with a man for the last 25 years, Jeffrey Richards, who was also a press agent for 30 years, to really produce quality shows. And I don't think I would be doing it this long. You know, I get you get frustrated, or you get jaded. But when you go on stage and see such quality work from the actors and from the playwrights, then you get all excited. And I say Jeffrey because Jeffrey believes in what he's producing. And as you know, with Porgy and Bess, there was some controversy. We almost did not get here, according to people. But that kind of commitment that to have.
But was that because of Steve Sondheim's criticism?
Yeah, I think that when you work with people who just want to have a hit, I think that people, they get scared. You know, we're in a time, you know, you have money, you don't know, you want to go to a sure thing. That's why there's so many revivals being produced. That's why Phantom is still doing well. That's why Mary Poppins, because people really, you know, they're careful with their money. And Broadway tickets are not cheap.
We know, not at all. We'll be back with more with Press Agent Supreme Irene Gandy after this message.
Today is Saturday.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov.
Take my hand and start a brand new day. And together as one we'll start to see some change.
Underneath everything we are, underneath everything we do, we are all people. Connected, interdependent, united. And when we reach out a hand to one, we can influence the condition of all. That's what it means to live united.
Welcome back to One to One. I'm Sheryl McCarthy of the City University of New York, and I'm talking with Irene Gandy, theater press agent and producer with Jeffrey Richards Associates, who are currently producing and representing Porgy and Bess. So how does one go about shaping the publicity for a show? What does that entail?
Well, what you do is you know, there's no clear answer to that. I mean, because it's a crapshoot. You'd like to think that everything you have, everybody wants to talk about. I personally, like with Porgy and Bess, I started marketing and promoting very, very grassroots. And I forgot to mention, like, Boza Rivers from the Heritage Theater, who has Harlem Arts Alliance, and Lloyd Williams, and CEO of Chamber of Commerce. So in this particular instance, I knew it was going to be a hard sell because of the, you know, it's always been an opera. So I always like to go to the willing. I'm, you know, and so I started, in addition to the traditional New York Times story, on the air, the advertising, the American Express ad, the stars, Audrey McDonald, I went actually to the roots of the people. The same thing I did 30 years ago. When I was on the road for like 17 years, I'd go into a town with a bubbling brown sugar or a Lena Horne or a UB. Or Raisin in the Sun.
Now, what does that mean? Does that mean the churches? Does it mean the sororities?
Well,
the fraternities,
it used to, the churches all play a very important part, but not as much as they used to, because the churches, they're doing their own production. So I go with the tried and true. I mean, because every play is not a Tyler Perry play, like every play is not a Neil Simon play. But you know, there are people that I knew that would love to see Porgy and Bess, like the sororities. You know, like the up-and-coming political people. But just letting people know, because part of the problem, people never get the information until after. Because by the time when you read about opening night, we're already open for 6 weeks. That word opening night only means that it's for critical review.
Right.
We've already been open for 6 weeks, taking people's money. So I tried to let a lot of people know that I knew that would love to see it because I'm proud of the production. And I'll say, look, you know, if you want to see quality production, do this. And also tell them, you know, you do what I tell you. That's usually my...
Were you selling it more as a Broadway musical than as an opera this time
It wasn't
around?
an opera, no.
I'm sorry?
It's not an opera.
Okay.
No. But that's what I said, most people affiliate, yeah, to answer your question, it was more a Broadway musical, something for 4 hours, cut down to 2.5. And also it has a wonderful script by Susan Laurie Parks, which has given Porgy dignity and words, and I mean, the script is amazing.
I have to say, I've seen the opera. I grew up, I probably know every song in the opera, you know, just from the recording. But when I saw this production, I didn't miss anything that was cut out. It really stands
I
up.
mean, think about that whole thing about cut out. And I'm sure half of the people that were complaining probably never saw opera in their whole life. But no, nothing was cut out because the songs are so, you can't cut Gershwin's songs.
But if it goes from 4 hours to 2.5 hours, something goes, right? No?
Well, I think what goes is like, there's a lot of singing in opera. And so the songs didn't go so long, you put a lot of dialogue in.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anything really went. It just was, you know.
You mentioned that opening night is really the night when the critics come. The role of critics in the theater, is it overblown or is it really, really
Well, I
important?
think as long as there's live theater and as long as they're the little gray old haired ladies, which I can call myself one, that, yeah, it's overblown, but it's not going to go away. It's tradition. What the New York Times says and what the blog, that's another reason. What the New York Times says really has a big impact on theater. It shouldn't, because sometimes you can get great reviews from everything, but that's slowly changing now because the internet is really taking over. Mm-hmm. But as long as we have live theater and the traditional outlets, it's going to be that way because that's what people want.
What's your typical day like?
Oh my God. Okay. It's so funny because people would love my life. Okay. So this morning I kind of took some time off because I wanted to be fresh for this show. But yesterday morning I had a meeting early in the morning talking. My day starts at 6 in the morning on the phone. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock I'm in the office preparing for the day, which you never can prepare for because you never know what's going on. So I called Felicia Rashad. Yesterday was her birthday, so I called her. And then yesterday, there was a lot of stuff going on. Then I went to the theater, then there was talkbacks, and then you have a phone call with a David Mammoth, and you go in a meeting. Just things that people love to do. Those are my typical days. You say, can I just? So you never know what is typical. Mm-hmm. But it's usually involved meetings and stuff. Stuff. Like you'll go and say, today I'm going to do this. Mm-hmm. Today I'm going to do this. And then there'll be like, right now, I was called back in because Miss McDonald has some vocal problems. And so she...
That's kept her out
that
for
has
a
kept
little
her
while.
out. And now she's going to be out until, you know, a significant amount of time. So you have to make a statement about that. So you never know. You just never know. But it's wonderful. I mean, like last Sunday before last, and we went in to Tony was great, and then I went to a party, and people called over. And this past weekend, it was like Freddie Jackson, and you just never know, because I'm like a party animal. Mm-hmm. Party animal. When I leave here, I'm going to a party.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, maybe you can take me with you.
I don't know if you can hang, Cheryl.
I don't
You have
know.
to take off those. You got to clutch those pearls when you But but honestly, it's like anything else because we're dealing with people's emotions and feelings. So it's not like a 9 to 5 where you can file it away. You know.
You talk about dealing with people's emotions and feelings. You talk about, for instance, calling Felicia Rashad to wish her happy birthday, or dealing with the fact you probably talked to Audra about her, you know.
I try not to.
Really? Illness? Okay.
No, no, she got agents and managers for that.
Okay.
But
I guess what I'm asking you is, what are the sort of personal things that are involved in the care and the feeding of existing shows?
I think that's what has kept me alive, because I do care. You know, I care about Audra and her being a mom, and 8 performers a week. I care about Norm Lewis's first Broadway show. I care about David Allen Greer, who's been nominated for every time he's been on Broadway, he's been nominated, and we go back.
He's really extremely versatile.
Yeah, I mean, he first was nominated for the first in 1982, and then he did our production of Race. He was nominated, and he's nominated for this one. He's a Susan Luccio thing, and I try to personalize it, not because I'm trying to get near him, because I try to stay away from backstage, but because I know that I know how the inner system works. Like when I used to work for CBS Records, I try to give a little insight that they may or may not get from a non-white person, you know. And
Tell me about that. You had a 2-year foray into the record industry, but you...
Baby, I had worked on Bubbling Brown Sugar. No, not Bubbling Brown Sugar. I was started in the theater in NEC, and then what show was on the road? I think it was Pearl Victorious. And then I ran into my friend, she was a press agent, Vicky Lucas, and she was handling B.B. King. And then I met B.B. King, people who were handling LaBelle. So LaBelle got signed with CBS Records. And then there was a whole shake-up. And so they asked me to come work with them at the record company. So I said that would be fine. I'd never done that. But the problem was, it was really, really interesting, because everything was money, and they didn't really do anything in Billboard and Cashbox, and it was great, but it wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. And I immediately came back to theater.
Okay.
Yeah. But I brought all my theater people in, like Esther Roll. Like, if they would only have parties with promoters and record DJs, I would like bring in, at the time, that was in the 70s, Esther Roll and Debbie Allen and all those. Yeah, yeah.
You got your own, and you've been doing all of this, and you're also a mother.
I am such a mother. My daughter is Myra Gandy, spelled with an I, and she's a wonderful artist. She's 45. She's never spent a day away from me. I mean, the backstage crew has raised her, you know, the stagehands and the wardrobe people. And yeah, so you can do it. I mean, because I always felt, when I came up, my mom would say, oh, I could have been a dancer if I didn't have you. And you said, I could have been this. I used to say, you know, if I ever have a kid, I'm going to do what I need to do. And as long as kids are happy and you're happy, then it's good. And I only had one, because I didn't.
That helps, certainly.
Yeah, because I did not want to have to decide between, do I have to buy Pampers and then some, now we'll call them Jimmy Choo pumps. So I wanted Pampers and the Jimmy Choos.
Okay.
So as long as we had that, I've always had someone to come in and help me clean, because that way if I come home tired, me and Myra can do a lot of stuff. We still take mother-daughter trips together. Yeah.
You had your own caricature, your own picture painted on the wall at Stardy's.
Yeah.
Stardy's a few years ago. What was that like?
Well, the thing is, I've been going to Stardy's since the 70s. My first office was the 70s.
Is it still a gathering place
Oh
for
my
people
God,
in the
yeah.
theater?
Yeah, it really is. And so Mr. Stardy I knew a long time. And then when he passed away, there was a busboy called Max that he sold it to for $1 because his kids did not want anything to do with it. And Max came for co-creation. He would teach me, I would teach him English back and forth.
So the former busboy became the owner.
That's right. So we've been friends a long time. So I used to say, I said, you know, when I turn 65, I want my own caricature. But I didn't really mean it. Because you don't get characters just because you're a star. You get characters if people like you, if the owners like you,
right.
If you're a friend of Sardi's. So at the time, this was in October, this was in September, I was planning a party for August Osage County, you know, a year-end party. He said, you know, we're gonna have your caricature. I'm like, really? But I didn't really think about it. But he says, then we'll give you. You can invite all your friends. I'm like, great! This is a great free birthday party for 65.
How many people showed up?
I only invited 65.
Okay.
And it was wonderful because
and
all
I'm
the people,
sure it shows you wearing a hat.
Yes, yes it does, because that's my trademark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's so funny because my little guy in my office, because I didn't really take it seriously, so I need a headshot. So he took it, and it's up there on the second floor where I drink.
Okay.
So don't go downstairs and see it unless you're bringing friends.
Fabulous.
Okay.
I would love, this has been such a
I
fun
wanna invite you
conversation.
to
I would
come.
love to continue it, but we're out of time.
Well,
I want to thank
I wanna
Irene
come back.
Gandy. Oh, you can come back anytime, but you got to bring me some free play tickets.
okay.
I want to thank Irene Gandy for joining us today, and I want to encourage everybody out there to go to the theater for the City University of New York and 1-to-1. I'm Sheryl McCarthy.